Welcome. This series of videos is looking at the key distinctions that explain why our deficits are so high, why we're in so much debt, and why politicians aren't doing anything about it. In this video, I want to talk about the concept of concentrated benefits, diffuse costs. So what this concept means is that we have an asymmetric political incentive, right? Politicians can give a benefit to a group that they feel immediately, but we don't have to pay for it until later, or if we spread it across the whole country, it doesn't look like a lot. Suppose a government program gives $1 billion to 10,000 people. That's $100,000 per person, but it costs 340 million Americans only about $3 each. The recipients have a huge reason to fight to get their $100,000, but nobody's going to fight over $3 each. That's what I'm talking about here. That's what's happening in our country right now. Historically, we didn't have this problem. Early America, up through the 1960s, debt was generally viewed as something to avoid except for wars and emergencies. And there was a very strong expectation that if government spent more, taxpayers should pay for it right then and there. For instance, in 1968, Congress imposed a temporary 10% income tax surcharge, partly to finance Vietnam and rising domestic spending. So it's very different back then. We had to pay now for anything we wanted to spend now. In the 1980s, Ronald Reagan cut taxes and increased defense spending, but deficits surged at that time. But you could see that Congress didn't like this. Washington still considered deficits a serious problem, and a bill, Graham-Rudman-Hollings, was established that set deficit targets and automatic spending cuts if Congress failed to meet them. Unfortunately, parts of the bill were ruled unconstitutional, and it was watered down and never particularly followed. But even back then, 1980s, when deficits were increasing, there was resistance to that concept. In the 90s, deficit reduction still remained a priority. President Bush accepted politically painful tax increases, despite saying famously, no new taxes, to be fiscally responsible. Clinton and a Republican Congress worked together to combine taxes, spending restraint, and economic growth to have a surplus in the federal government, something we haven't seen for decades. In the 2000s until today, this kind of discipline and thinking has really weakened under both parties. There's been tax cuts, wars, new benefits, recessions, and COVID, all financed through borrowing. The asymmetry that I talked about has become even stronger. Cutting a benefit now creates an obvious loser, somebody who feels it immediately, so people fight to avoid benefits from being cut. Raising taxes creates an obvious loser, so same thing, we fight to avoid that. But borrowing creates almost no obvious loser at all today. So we just keep borrowing and borrowing and borrowing. The ability to go into debt makes the political incentives asymmetric. The benefits are visible today, so we want them now, we'll fight for them. The costs are diffuse, less visible, and increasingly pushed into future generations. This might seem obvious to you as you hear this, but it didn't used to be this way. We need to go back to the kind of discipline we used to have.